What was your I'm dating married to a f***ing idiot moment? My husband thought people whistled when they set off fireworks. He didn't realize the fireworks themselves whistles, though that was one of his more harmless stupidities. Made me think of how I read once that when deaf people hear for the first time, a lot of them think the sun made a sound. I dated a guy in college who visited me in my rural hometown and asked what the animals in the neighbor's field were. I said cows, in a "you must be shitting me" level of disbelief. He proceeded to tell me they can't be cows because cows are black and white and these animals were all brown. I had to pull up Google to prove to him that brown cows existed. I could maybe understand if he'd been from a city, but he told then he was from a rural suburb, not a city, so I guess he was just an idiot. How long until he figured out that brown cows make chocolate milk? My husband went in Dollar General for toilet paper. We had maybe $50 to last the week. This man came back with $40 of mango juice because it was on sale and no toilet paper. I drank the juice, but I was awfully salty about it. You are gonna need toilet paper after drinking $40 of mango juice? My wife was commenting on a man who we knew dated a lot of women. One day we saw him with his kid. She said, "I bet he doesn't even know who the mother is." If that was a joke, it would be hilarious. We served in the US Peace Corps together in Uganda. One day it was really sunny out, like we lived within 50 miles of the equator sunny. She says, "The moon is going to be really bright tonight." I asked what she meant, and she said, "Since it's so sunny, the moon is absorbing all the light and will illuminate brighter when it's dark." We argued about this and ended up talking to her mother on the phone. She confirmed her daughter's hypothesis. I love the fact, checking with someone equally misinformed. I'm going to start doing that. We were getting ready to move and were going through each room, discussing whether to take or get rid of the furniture. In the bedroom, I remarked that I would like to get new bedside lamps. The ones we had were from his bachelor apartment over a decade ago. He said, "I can see why you'd like new lamps, but it's kind of amazing that the light bulbs have lasted 10 years. Dear gentle reader, the light bulbs had not lasted that long. He just was never the one to change them. My wife went to the store to get cilantro for our tacos. She came home with parsley. Easy mistake? They look similar if you don't look closely enough. I told her she bought parsley. She was convinced it was cilantro. I had her taste it. I showed her the tag on the bundle that said parsley. She reluctantly went back to the store to get cilantro. She came home with another bundle of parsley. I love this woman, but this moment I was questioning everything about her problem-solving skills. The good news is, she has never brought home parsley again. One day I was making butter chicken curry, which my ex loved, and in the middle of cooking, realized I was out of yogurt. Sent him to the store to get some. He came back with blueberry flavored. While we were moving, my ex-wife asked me who we needed to contact to change our email address. ATHX for the responses and upvotes. Promise this isn't a bad attempt at a joke. This really happened when we moved to a new house in the same region of our state. We both had been using Hotmail at the time, which made this funnier, to me at least. My husband was feeling unwell and began Googling his symptoms. After a while of silence, he suddenly turns to me in a panic and says, "I think I have preeclampsia." Okay, I'll be honest, when WebMD first was a thing, F35, immediately jumped on it and put in any and all my symptoms. Well, as we all know, they always give you the worst case scenario, and it did, and said I might have testicular cancer. I called my parents sobbing. They said I was a waste of private school education and hung up on me. Now look, in my only defense, my older brother had gynecomastia. So in my head, I figured, if my brother was born with tits, then maybe it was possible I was born with balls stuck somewhere inside me. I don't know. It seemed logical to me at the time. The ex-wife complained Apple Pay wouldn't work, well, link or whatever. I suggested she contact Apple support or go down to the Apple store. Kept refusing to go to the store, saying she'd call customer support and go from there. One day while at work, she texts me asking where to get iTunes gift cards. Already a red flag. "Why do you need those?" I ask. She stated to me that Apple support is requesting the codes so they can verify funds. I told her it's a bad idea, it's a scam, and to just go to the Apple store. An argument broke out, and nothing was discussed further. I get home that night and notice 8 $100 iTunes gift card holders in the kitchen. I ask her if she sent the codes to anyone in which another argument broke out. She said she posted in an Apple support thread, and an anonymous user replied to her telling her to call this number, obviously unaffiliated with Apple. Some say her Apple Pay still doesn't connect to this day. When he spent an hour arguing, cows are from England and bulls are from Spain. Or when he told me he is British because he had mixed Egyptian and Irish heritage, and I was English because I don't. Oh no, wait. When the dentist handed him that vacuum thing to spit into, and he thought it was an oxygen mask and got it stuck to his face. Ha ha ha. Memories. We had a clogged French drain outside. My husband thought a plunger would fix it. He dropped the handle in the drain trying to plunge it. If that wasn't bad enough, he tried to use a wrench to get the handle out of the hole and proceeded to drop the wrench in the hole as well. He then called a plumber and told him we need help getting a plunger handle and wrench out of the drain. He's a PhD in English literature. Needless to say, I am now the handyman. Some of the dumbest things I've heard have come out of the mouths of the most highly educated and technically knowledgeable people I know. I love it. LMFAO. My husband watched me cooking one day. We had only been dating for a month or two, and as I was talking, the pan that I was heating up was wobbly, so I proceeded to stick a spatula under it to keep it steady, a plastic one, right on a burner. It melted, naturally. His first thought was, am I dating a moron? I don't even blame him for that thought. The dude married me anyway, but he does all the cooking. My high school boyfriend thought women got cramps from holding their menstrual flow. Like you'd get cramps from holding urine, and women just go to the bathroom and force it out. Like poop. Pads and tampons, they're just in case you can't hold it. This one is a bit obscure, but when you go to a hotel to check in, you tell them your full name or at least your last name so they can look you up. The guy I was dating at the time, and I had booked a hotel somewhere, and we got there, they asked his name. He only gave them his first name, which is generic. What's your full name? Again, gives them just his first name. Sir, we need your full name to look you up. Yeah, but the reservation's under my name. First name here? I had to intervene and tell him they needed his last name because there could be many guests by his first name. I was so shocked this was not common sense to him. Girl I was dating was making nachos and shredding cheese. She cuts herself and blood gets on the cheese in the shredder. As she gets a Band-Aid, I pick up the cheese, and as I am throwing it away, she freaks out as now I may have AIDS. Like what? She is hard freaking out that I just got exposed to AIDS and I needed to get medical attention. After talking, it turns out she thought AIDS was everywhere. Like any blood outside the body could just magically get it. Her stupidity was a relief that night. My boyfriend at the time is American. I am Italian. The first time he met my father, he tried to impress him by speaking in my native language. Long story short, someone in his life failed him immensely because he genuinely was unaware Italy had a language of its own and assumed we spoke French. My dad was very confused. I laughed until I almost passed out. He was so embarrassed. In that moment, I knew I would love him forever. We get married this year, and he is determined to say his vows in Italian LOL. Edit. Thank you guys so much for the hilarious responses and suggestions. My fiance and I are dying reading the comments. He wants me to add that him and I began dating when we were both 14. We are now 20, almost 21. He was 14 when this happened, lol. Lord, I've got a list. He has set himself on fire multiple times, sometimes on purpose. He once decided he wouldn't shut off the power while working on a dryer because that would mean he'd have to change a bunch of other batteries. He got shocked, unsurprisingly. This only served to fuel his determination. He got electrocuted, zapped 13 times, but he did finish the job alive in the end. We have multiple nicks in the ceiling due to sword-related shenanigans. He volunteered to be on the receiving end of my taser just to know what it felt like. As a child, he asked his older brother to kick him in the balls, again, just to know what it felt like. He volunteered to have his entire nether region, front and back, waxed, for funsies. He once made me wake up in the middle of the night in a panic thinking there was a fire because he had manscaped and decided to clean up the hair by setting it on fire. He managed to both dislocate a knee and get pink eye within 1 drunken hour, during which he was playing with whiskey and homemade torches. I could go on. One day, my then fiancé was very angry with me without warning and started harassing me over, "What are you going to do? How are you going to pay for our wedding? How?" Basically accusing me of being broke or having no financial plan. After a whole day of me wondering what the heck is going on, she finally went through the numbers. According to this wedding magazine she borrowed from her friends, the average cost of a 200-guest wedding in Tokyo was $80,000 or so. And I did not have that kind of money, like at all. And then I had to literal sit her down and use pen paper to prove how much our wedding is costing, since I insisted it won't be as much. How much is the venue/ceremony rentals? 25 Arshan. How much is the meal going to cost per guest at the hotel restaurant? $50, 70. And how much are the hotel rooms we're paying for? $150 night. And how many people are attending the wedding? 13. All said and done, our whole wedding was going to be about $4,500, $5,000. And we knew this. But after reading one magazine article about mega weddings in Tokyo, My fiance convinced herself that ours had to cost that much too. Spent nearly 2 days stewing and angry with me before even explaining this was the reason for her hostility. She was easily influenced like this by anything. Friends' comments, overhearing old ladies' conversations on the train, clickbait news online, etc. And no, I did not go through with the wedding. Took me a long time to admit that her stupidity wasn't a charm point, but weaponized incompetence by an abuser. My ex, upset that our bedroom did not stay dark into the morning, once pounded a 4-inch bolt from our daughter's crib into the wall to hang a shitty blanket up over the window. In case it's not obvious, bolts have flat ends and are not made for hanging items on walls. The hole it created in the wall was more of a crater, and the disgusting blanket he purchased for the venture was ruined as well. My dear lovely husband did not know that Shirley Temple Black was Shirley Temple's name after she married. One night he admitted that he thought Shirley Temple Black was the Black Shirley Temple, like Hollywood had remade all of the movies with a black child actress for black audiences. Thank goodness he's pretty. My wife recently realized she is colorblind through her eye doctor. She is an artist, and yes, her art is very beautiful, but the way she chose her colors has always been a bit strange. I now realize why. Anyway, when she found out, she was shocked. Afterward, as soon as we got home, she showed me her color palette that she used to paint, showing me the way she seen colors. I kept trying to explain to her that I don't see colors like she does, so I don't know what she sees through her eyes, but she couldn't understand what I was talking about. 2 days later, she randomly came up to me and said, "Yeah, that makes sense." Happened last night, and I'm still pissed. Drove up to a roundabout, and were the first ones to arrive at the scene of a pretty rough car accident that just happened. It was between a cop car and a car with a couple of younger women, all airbags deployed. Girl's car was definitely totaled. We pulled up, and the cop was rolling out of the driver's seat, and I called 911 for an ambulance. The cop seemed okay and went to check on the younger girls who were screaming and were definitely hurt/shocked. We heard sirens and other cop cars showed immediately, so the best thing we figured to do was get out of the way and go about our night. The idiot part is this. We get in our truck and I tell my boyfriend he has time to pull back into the now backed up roundabout. His response was, "Hold on, I'm making a Snapchat post," and I'm like, what the f***? We need to clear out of here before it gets too busy, and so we're not in the way of the cops. Is now really the time? Then I see the post. It was a video of the accident, then the camera panning back to him smiling, saying, "They're out here getting the police too." Now to clarify, we weren't at the accident site for long, so during the time I was checking on the cop and the girl was screaming in pain from her car and officer was trying to get her out, my boyfriend was recording that dumbass video. 1. I found that disgustingly insensitive at the very least. 2. I called him a little bitch for his first instinct to be pulling out his phone and record. We drove home in silence that night, and I still don't know what to say to address that dumbass childish behavior. I was dating this woman who saw my copy of God Is Not Great on my bookshelf and asked to borrow it because she'd heard a lot about it and wanted to read it. I said okay, even though I had just bought it. We saw each other a few more times, hooking up and stuff. It was nice. One day we're sitting there and she starts telling me she's into Reiki and she's serious. If you don't know what that is, in a nutshell, it's pseudoscience nonsense. I cringe upon hearing this. I asked if she got to reading the book and if she liked it or not, and she says, "Oh, I skimmed it and thought it was total trash, so I threw it out." Double fucking idiot. You don't politely ask to borrow something and then throw it out. I told her I think Reiki's bullshit and that she owes me $25 before I left for good. My college GF took me to her mega church. Though I was a bit uncomfortable, I was open-minded. I have no problem with someone being religious. But when the pastor went, "When Satan comes to get you, you put your hand up and tell him, 'Satan, you can't take me because I tithe and give offerings to the church.'" The crowd erupted in cheers, and I instantly lost respect for all 3,000 of them, including my GF. My wife, when we were dating, was driving along the highway. We could see trees moving in the breeze. She says, "Boy, how windy do you think it is?" Rolled down the window and stuck her hand out to feel the breeze. In a moving car at highway speed. I was driving but looked over at her as she did it. Well, is it windy? Yes. Lol. Well, on my 18th birthday, my high school boyfriend, truly the sweetest guy, was talking to my mom in the kitchen when she realized she needed to take something out the oven. She realized she didn't have oven gloves, so she turned around to get them. My boyfriend, wanting to help, pulled the burning hot tray out of the oven with his bare hands. Have you ever seen that Tumblr thread or something along the same lines as this? A guy was making a frozen pizza in the oven, and when it was done, he opened the oven door and said to his friend, "I hate this part. before pulling the pizza out with his bare hands. We were planning a trip, and I asked my partner to book the flights. Weeks later, I asked for the details, and they said, "Oh, I thought we could just buy tickets at the airport on the day we leave." Apparently, they thought airports were like bus stops. We ended up paying so much for last-minute tickets, I half expected a butler on the plane to greet us with caviar and a mortgage application. Lesson learned: trust, but always verify. I loaned my ex $65 to go pay his phone bill. I was going that way anyway, so I told him I would pay it for him along the way. He gave me back the $65 and I paid it at the T-Mobile store. Payday came, and I asked him for the $65. He said he already paid me back. He got so mad and said I was a forgetful idiot and just kept asking yes or no, did he give me the money back? And I said yes, but I then paid the bill for you. His friends all agreed I'm an idiot and he never paid me back. That is moment I knew he was an idiot. I had a roommate that I covered the security deposit for. I moved out and had to pester him, long distance, for the money back. Meanwhile, he got evicted, and naturally the landlord kept the security deposit. He then insisted that he didn't owe me the money because the landlord hadn't given it back to him. My ex bought a brand new Mac computer and a set of DVD-ROMs to do photos. There was a clear plastic cover, the shape of a DVD but thinner. He decided to see if it would work as a DVD. When it wouldn't extract, he forced a regular DVD in beside it and got them both stuck. Had to take it back to the Apple store and get it fixed. This was the same man who tried to use my child's plastic thermos to hammer in a nail and puncture the thermos when my GF said she was going with one of her model friends to Qatar or Dubai to dance around in bikinis on some super yacht for a New Year's party. The conditions were they had to hand over all their stuff for security reasons, and the yacht was going to be traveling far offshore. When she told me, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Have you never seen the movie Taken?" Even her closest friends told her she was fucking stupid to risk this. I have two. She was trying a vegan diet for a month and said she didn't get why a lot of vegans don't eat honey. I asked her why that was confusing and she said, "Because honey isn't an animal product?" Honey, what do you think bees are? Bugs, obviously. Cue a 20-minute talk in the car where our daughter and I gave her shit for thinking bees aren't animals, they're bugs. During COVID lockdown, we were watching Borat 2. My wife scoffs and says, "Man, how many dumb Americans do you think watch this movie and think Kazakhstan is a real country?" I died. I went through his phone after 3 years together because I saw a weird message pop up on Insta on his old phone. It's safe to say that he's a lech. Well, a failed one because 95% of his messages were ignored. I confronted him, threw the phone onto his lap, and went back upstairs to calm down and think. Tell me why this fuckwit came up to me 10 minutes later, telling me to go through it again after deleting the majority of the messages. Then followed about 30 minutes of arguing before he finally admitted to deleting them. Back when we were first living together, my husband, BF at the time, decided it was a great idea to get rid of a wasp chilling on our blinds by dousing it in lighter fluid and setting it on fire. He acted so quickly that I didn't have time to suggest that might not be a great idea. He set the wasp and our blinds on fire. It went out quickly, but a portion of the blinds melted and we had to replace the whole thing. I have not ever let him live that down. He also tried to get rid of maggots in our trash can once by, you guessed it, dousing them in lighter fluid and setting them on fire. I had to show him how to fill the trash can with water, add some bleach, and let it sit in the sun for a while. Much more effective than lighting the interior of the can on fire. Edit. I want to add that my husband is not an idiot. He just really likes when he has an excuse to light things on fire. My husband is incredibly smart, highly educated, a clever man. He also has eaten an entire muffin with the paper on eaten fishtail palm berries from our backyard. Just to see what they were, they are painful and not edible. Bent the tip of my Worcester chef's knife trying to open a stubborn wine bottle. We have a corkscrew. Traumatically shattered the bone in his fingertip while trying to open the double-thick plexi housing on a baseball card with a table saw. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.